Now, as you know, among the evils that plague mankind, poverty ranks fairly high. And in fact, Gandhiji went to the extent of saying that poverty is the worst form of violence because nothing can give you greater pain and more suffering. Now, this article today in the Hindu is by Seema Yechuri, Seema Chishti, who actually is now Seema Yechuri, the wife of Sitaram Yechuri, the communist leader. Now, the title, as you can see, is State of India's Core Must Be Acknowledged. Now, she begins with a reference to, although she has not mentioned the name of the book, I think it's David Copperfield by Charles Dickens, in which the plight of poor children is one of the themes. And at that time, another contemporary of Charles Dickens, one Charles Booth, was very angry when a person called Hindman came out with a conclusion following a survey that 1/4 of London lives below the poverty line, lives in abject poverty, as he called it actually. So he undertook a survey himself. Booth undertook a survey. Then, to his great surprise, he found that it's not 1/4 really, but a third of the population of London which lives in poverty. So this suddenly opened up new visions of the need for government policy to address essential issues. Then Seema Chishti now points out that basically the article is all about numbers, about how census is important before you can frame a policy. And just like we need to know exactly how many people succumbed fatally to the COVID-19 virus, we also need to know the number of poor people in the country. Now, in order to know that, first you have to define poverty. So one definition of poverty, which is the latest definition by the World Bank, is that a person earning less than $2 a day is a poor person. Okay. Now, this can be a beginning because this $2 a day ceiling is much higher than the ceiling prescribed by the Rangarajan committee. Now, that committee will come to it in a minute. The SEMA also points out that a survey in 2013 put India at 99 among 131 countries in the order of average income, which is a pretty poor ranking, you'll all agree. And among the BRICS countries, it was the last. And among the middle income countries in the world, it was in the lower bracket. So India does not rank satisfactorily in any of these rankings. So what Seema Chishti says is she calls for a clear recognition of the state of the poor in India, and as a justification for that, she points out that the monthly per capita consumption expenditure in 2017-18 fell for the first time since 1972-73, which means after about almost 40 years. But the government did not publish this figure of 2017 and 18, according to her. Now, another pointer was the fall of the country in the global hunger index to the serious hunger category, which is pretty poor. So, and India's own health census data, the National Family Health Survey, fifth survey showed that highly depressing signs existed of increasing malnutrition, infant mortality, and maternal health. And what is really a matter for concern is that even Bangladesh is ahead of India in average income statistics. And there is a thing called the Sustainable Development Goals Index, also in which, as well as in the per capita income rankings in the world, India has slipped by a couple of ranks over the past few years. So the author argues that also the Global Multidimensional Poverty Index reported that India lifted 271 million citizens out of the poverty line between 2006 and 2016. But after that, the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, and a study called the Hunger Watch and SWAN and other surveys have showed a decided slide. India has been sliding down after 2016. I'm actually mentioning a large number of these reports because SEMA has mentioned them also to sort of highlight the fact that a large number of independent, reliable, and fairly well-known surveys have established the undisputed fact that in terms of tackling poverty, we have not been doing a very good job in India. And poverty was already a bad enough kind of scourge affecting the India's population. And then the demonetization, as you all know, affected the poor very badly. Then it was followed by the COVID-19. So it is now almost a sort of crisis-like situation. In 2020, India contributed 57.3% of the growth of the global poor. Just imagine, more than half the growth, numbers came from India, and 59.3 to global middle class that slid into poverty. Reasonably well-to-do people becoming poor people, and nearly 60% of that phenomenon occurring in India. So, in fact, the last time the India reported an increase in poverty before that meaning before 2020 was only first 20 years after independence. That means up to 1972, which means it's happening nearly almost 40 years later, as I said earlier. So we are now have got the dubious distinction of being known as a country of mass poverty after nearly 40 years. Now, the anger, you see, earlier, in order to determine the so-called BPL or below the poverty line people, so they wanted to have a poverty line. The government appointed a Professor Tendulkar committee in 2011, and the findings of that committee or the recommendations caused a lot of anger in the country because had it been implemented, the number of poor people would have been very, very much less than what it ought to have been. Then the Rangarajan committee was appointed, which estimated the number of poor people in India to roughly to 29.6 or about 30%. Now, and Rangarajan also argued in favor of massive financial support, a thing which SEMA also supports, that in many countries, financial support to the poor people is not regarded as charity, but as economic rationale. Because when you pull people out above the poverty line, the economy also prospers. Now, Spain, as I said, is one country which has done that. Now, many policies which we undertake do not, because generally speaking in a democracy, any public policy should benefit the majority of the people. Now, take for instance the policy of waiving off bank loans. Obviously, the number of people benefiting is a very, very small number of people, and a huge amount of disproportionate benefit goes to them. So, this is a case of creating wealth at the expense of the misery of the poor people, because you're spending thousands of crores of rupees to provide relief to a few people, and which could have been spent on schools, hospitals, and the poverty alleviation programs and all that. So Arjun Sengupta, the well-known economist and author, he says that 836 million people, which means what? Nearly 83 percent, well, let us say 80% of the people in India are marginalized Indians. So his committee's recommendation, in fact, led to the promulgation of the Unorganized Sector Workers Social Security Act, which is a very important milestone in the battle against poverty. Now, actually, the expression poverty line came from the bread lines in the United States in the 1890s following the Depression, and SEMA warns that this phenomenon cannot be wished away. You will soon have people lining up for food and things like that, large queues, which is not really a very flattering thing for a democracy like India, not after 70 years of independence. So, a large majority of people, as Arjun Sengupta pointed out, living in subhuman conditions cannot be acceptable in a country like ours. And in fact, I don't know if you found the time to read the article which I wanted to circulate to you in the morning. Perhaps it is in your hands. I have written an article on this subject, on the subject of wealth and disproportionate distribution in Hans India, where I said the concept of equality is alien to nature. See, nothing is equal in nature, not even the cosmos, the planets, the stars, the where life exists, where it does not, etc. Everything is disproportionately distributed. And in India, in particular, in terms of regions, sections of the people, and sectors of the economy, a great skewness or disproportionate distribution exists. So, in fact, the peculiar thing is what rich people do to poor people in a poor country, rich countries do to poor countries also, as we all know, what how the countries dictate terms to poor people in the world and all that. And it's not as if the government of India has done nothing. You must have heard of the many anti-poverty programs that have been taken up, right from in 1977, starting with Antyodaya Yojana, then the Integrated Rural Development Program, then the Dwakra, which is meant for rural women, and then the Employment Assurance Scheme, the Swarna Jayanti Gram Swarozgar Yojana, and then the Mahatma Gandhi Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. They are all meant for eradicating poverty. But obviously, in spite of all that, this is the situation we see in the country is today, is what Seema is saying, pleading for aggressive and urgent action.